Hi there. Look what I have. I have 3 very ripe bananas. So I'm itching to make my salted caramel banana bread. Caramel banana bread topped with caramel, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my loaf pan and I'm going to spray that. I've got my oven on 350 degrees and it's preheating. I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour in this bowl. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And then I'm going to add kosher salt or sea salt. I don't have any kosher salt. And I'm only going to add 1/4 teaspoon because the butter I'm going to use is salted butter. That's really all I buy unless there's a reason or a recipe just specifies never use it. I don't know. I just always buy salted butter. So you're going to whisk that together just to get all those ingredients incorporated, spread out evenly. Okay, we're going to set that aside. Now in this bowl, we're going to put 1 stick of softened butter. Mine is always soft. I keep it at room temperature. You know, we've talked about that. Then we're going to add 1/2 cup of light brown sugar. We'll pack that down. And then we're going to whisk this together. You can beat it with a mixer. I just honestly get it all incorporated like this. And then I'll just use my whisk for just a few minutes. I'm a little lazy when it comes to that, I guess. I hate getting the mixer out. Might be better. My butter might not be as soft as I thought it was. It's okay. We just got to get this all mixed together really, really well. And sometimes this is just the way it goes. I'm just going to use my fork. Okay, you just got to get that incorporated really, really well together. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm always real quick to say, hey, those bananas in there, you don't have to eat them, but don't throw them away. Please don't throw them away, because this is just a great opportunity to make some banana bread. Now, this is my favorite banana bread recipe. There are no nuts in this recipe. Okay, so then we're going to add 1 egg at a time. It calls for 2 eggs, but we're going to do 1 at a time. And we're going to mix in between each egg. So that gives us 1 egg, and we're going to beat that up really, really good. I did something to my hand when we were on vacation or when we were leaving to go, and it's just giving me fits. I can hardly grip anything with my right hand without pain. I should probably get that checked. Okay, so there's 1 egg. We're going to add a 2nd egg. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to beat this until it's incorporated really, really well. It'll get light and fluffy. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to put our bananas in there. Now, it's just up to you. If you want to mash these ahead of time, you can. They are really, really soft, and I make sure to get all try your best to get all the strings out, and I'll just break that up in there. It takes 3 very ripe bananas. Some people like to eat bananas this way. It's not my thing. I like a banana almost on the green side, to be honest. I don't want it crunchy. I don't want a crunchy banana, but I don't like Once they turn completely yellow, they're just about too ripe for me. These are really, really ripe bananas. Okay, so we're going to put those in there. Okay, lay that aside. And then we need a teaspoon of vanilla. I'll go ahead and add that while we're in here. This is a ½ teaspoon measure again. So I'm doing 2 of those. Okay, now we're going to mash these bananas into this mixture. They will mash up pretty quick. Now, if you're using a mixer, this is really a quicker process, I guess. I've always just liked using a whisk if I can at all. I'm not a fan of electric mixer for another reason. It seems like I don't want to get out the KitchenAid because I keep it stored away just because I have very little counter space. And the hand mixer I have tends to sling stuff. Like, I about have to clean my whole kitchen when I'm done. Okay, so I'm just going to mix this really well to get these bananas mixed in so I don't have any big chunks of bananas. And you can see. No, that's good. Okay. Put that in there. I'm going to get a spoon. We're going to mix in our, make sure I don't have any big pieces. Piece of black in there. Now that's a really ripe banana, but I don't like the discoloration in it either. Okay. So now we're going to add in our flour, baking powder, and salt. And we're just going to stir this until this is all incorporated, until all the dry ingredients are wet. And on a black shirt, and I'm stirring flour. It's going to be pretty. It's going to be lovely. Okay. So once we get this done, this is a pretty thick bread. Now you can I like making a loaf out of it. I just love how a loaf looks. But you can actually do these in muffins as well. The loaf itself is going to cook for about, okay, there we go. So all those ingredients are wet. This is going to cook for about 45 minutes on 350. And then if you're doing muffins, you'll want those to cook for about 15 minutes or until a toothpick inserted comes out clean. Pretty much the same thing for a loaf, but it will take 45 minutes. Okay, so this is a really thick batter. As with any bread batter, is usually pretty thick. So then I just like to kind of spread it out a little bit. I love a bread or cake that is a little rough on top, you know. It just looks, I don't know, it looks more rustic, I think. So there we go. That's going to go in my oven, 350 degrees, for about 45 minutes. And then when we come back, I'm going to show you how to make the caramel topping to pour over the hot cake. You're going to want to make this. I'll see you in a bit. All right. You can hear my coffee making. I'll be honest, I've got a pot of coffee making. As soon as this bread is done, I'm having a piece. So this beauty is out of the oven. It baked exactly 45 minutes. It's really a good deep golden brown. And I put it on a cooling rack. If you don't have a cooling rack, it's not the end of the world. But I would put some wax paper or foil or something under it, because when you pour the caramel topping over the top of it, it's going to make a mess. All right, I'm going to turn my stove on. I'm going to turn it on high to start with. And we need to melt together 2 tablespoons of butter. 2 tablespoons of butter. and 1/4 cup of brown sugar. So we're going to let this melt together, and I'm going to stir it with a whisk. I'm going to let this melt for about, or cook for about 1 minute. You really need it to kind of boil a little bit. Just keep it stirred. The butter's going to melt, and it won't scorch it. Just be careful. I'll probably turn my eye down, because listen, I'm going to turn it on high. My mama raised me that way. She cooked everything on high, I think. So I'm going to turn that down to just almost a medium. And that butter is starting to melt. So this is a really quick and easy caramel topping. The recipe that I use calls for whipping cream to be used. I don't have any whipping cream, and I only have fat-free milk. And I have done this, and it works. It works perfect. This is a salted caramel banana bread. Now, salted caramel is not everybody's favorite. So I love salted caramel, but I tend to lead away from so much salt just for that reason. But I'm going to add to the top of it, and I also use salted butter, so I won't add all the salt that it calls for in the topping and stuff. Okay, so this is already melted, you can see. So we're going to let this bubble up. So it really needs to bubble up and kind of boil. There's not enough there to really boil, but it does need to bubble for about 1 minute. Caramel is like a candy. It won't set up like a caramel, but it is a true caramel glaze. So we're just going to stir this until it starts getting really, really hot. Starts to bubble. You do not want this to scorch. If this scorches, and you'll know it, you honestly want to take it out, wash your pan, and start over. You just don't want to scorch it. Burnt sugar and brown sugar is not a nice, I mean, unless you like a burnt sugar flavor, but I'm not a fan. Okay, so we're going to get this really, really hot. This is a lovely, lovely bread. You don't have to put, it calls for kosher salt. I don't have any kosher salt, so I'm using sea salt because I like the coarseness of it. For the top of it, I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit on top of it. Okay. So this is bubbly. I'm trying not to let it scorch, but to let it bubble for just a few minutes. It really just needs to be really, really hot and all that brown sugar dissolved. And then what you're going to do is you're going to stir in 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, or in this case, milk. And then whisk, whisk, whisk. Okay. So I'm turning the heat off while I do this. I need 2 tablespoons. And it's going to sizzle up. You hear that? And then we're going to stir it, stir it, stir it. This is what creates the caramel sauce. And I'll show you. I doubt you can see it, but there's a nice caramel sauce in there. Okay, so we're removing that from the heat. Just keep stirring it. This gets out any lumps that might have formed, and they will form. Keep stirring it and it'll get smoother and smoother. Okay, then to this we're going to add 1/3 cup of confectioner's sugar. Like we need more sugar, right? Okay, just stir, stir, stir. We're just going to keep stirring that. This is a lovely, lovely, lovely recipe. Now the recipe itself calls for some salt in this caramel topping, but because I use salted butter, I'm not going to do that. And then I'm going to put very, very little on top of it. So This is all I do. Just make sure you scrape out. And you really just don't want to leave any of that caramel in there. So I just start on one end and just pour all the way across as evenly as possible. I'm going to come back the other direction. We just want to get all of it on top of it. And then it'll run down. It'll just start running. If you feel like it's just going to set up too quick, I mean, just give it a good swirl down through there so you get the whole top of it. And then it'll just continue to drizzle. It's like a drizzle topping. There we go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This with a cup of coffee is going to be a very nice finish to a very busy day. There we go. I'm going to cut it. Okay. So I probably need a serrated knife, but sometimes I have help putting away the dishes. I can't always find where I see it. Okay, so that was a little thicker. It didn't really run off on the paper at all. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to cut. And listen, this is my favorite part too, is the end pieces of the bread. So I'm going to cut this. I'm going to have a piece of this with my coffee to finish off this night. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my. Looky there. Look, look, look. Can you taste it? You can almost taste it, right? See, this is a nutless banana bread. There are no nuts in this banana bread. None whatsoever. It's really good. I didn't put salt on the top of it, so here is where you would do that. Don't just sprinkle, but you just literally just drop a few little pieces here and there. Now, I like caramel, salted caramel, so I'm going to put a few on my piece. That's it. That's all there is to this lovely bread recipe. And you can see, I mean, it's still warm, but this is a good, sturdy, recipe. You're going to like this. You can make muffins, or you can make a loaf of bread. Either way, make some banana bread. See if those bananas are ripe and just make you some banana bread. Thanks for watching.